What is up, true believers? The eternal truth. The eternal truth. The eternal truth. The eternal truth behind our modern mythology.
What is up, true believers? It's Mason here with Comics and Crosses, where we discuss the eternal truths behind our modern mythology. And today is March 11th, Friday, March 11th. I'm like, what day is it? I didn't even really think about it till now. But yeah, today is Friday, March 11th. I hope you've had a good week. I hope that you got to read some good comic books. I did, however, I just have not made a trip to my comic shop. I didn't get last week's comics or this week's. Stuff just been going on, so I got some reading to catch up on too. But, so today's going to be not, maybe your typical, this is what's out this week, kind of comic talk, stuff like that. But I thought I'd declare it a Friday Faith Day and talk about some of the God in the panels, as I like to talk about. Some examples of talk about religion, of faith, of belief in God and spirituality, things you find in comics. But first, a little bit of latest happenings or goings-ons. I'm not sure if you saw, but the Obi-Wan Kenobi, or is it just called Kenobi? The new Disney Plus show starring Obi-Wan Kenobi, or hopefully starring him. I don't know. Sometimes with these shows, they use a main character to just really make it about somebody else, somebody recognizable. But regardless, there's a show coming out that's been in the works for a long time. They were going to make it a movie, and then it switched to a show. And this has been a long time coming, a long time development. Ewan McGregor, probably the best character, the best thing about the prequel trilogies from Star Wars. I mean, he is an excellent actor. And he really, the casting, everything was perfect for him for Obi-Wan Kenobi. Unfortunately, not so much for Anakin Skywalker. That was womp, womp, womp. Yeah, that was kind of a big disappointment. But, the prequels ran their course, and they were just kind of, you had to watch them because you love Star Wars, right? So it is what it is, man. So, but I bring it up because the trailer has come out, and, what did you guys think? The trailer, I thought it looked pretty cool. I thought, it's gonna be Obi-Wan Kenobi trying to fight off some bad Inquisitors, which, if you don't know, are kind of these Sith-like people who go around looking for Jedi after Revenge of the Sith, trying to finish off the job they mostly finished in that movie, eliminating and executing all the Jedi. So, it looked pretty cool. Definitely, not so excited to see Tatooine. That's kind of standard. Thanks, Chillmonger, for dropping in. Love Star Wars. Yes. All Star Wars. Not anymore. Yeah, 100%. So I'm hoping that they don't do anything irreverent to Obi-Wan Kenobi, who is a legit character through and through. So I just mean that I hope they don't character assassinate him and try to make him a dummy, or, make him whatever. He was a very pure character. He's an old school Jedi. They can do some different kind of things with Luke, although Last Jedi was terrible. But, they can do some different things with, maybe Grogu, or, the path that they take. But Obi-Wan Kenobi is a classic Jedi through and through. Follows the code, everything, peaceful warrior, lone samurai now. So I mean, the trailer looked pretty cool. Um, I'm interested to see where they go with it. Let's see. Where is aggressively? Oh yeah, really? Yeah, you guys are always nice point counterpoint. I should have the two of you on the morning show to just kind of go back and forth. I think that'd be really cool. Get your guys' opposing takes on things. Um, but yeah, so I think Chomong Gu and I align kind of a little more closely in perspective on this. And I haven't been very happy with the new Star Wars content, and I think that it's weird that they they kind of just haven't had a plan, haven't had a clear plan, or maybe there's a conflict of plans of what should be done with the Star Wars content. But I really thought Disney was going to knock it out of the park. The Book of Boba Fett was, from what I could tell, mostly unwatchable aside from when the Mandalorian was around. Um, and the other stuff, I mean, The Mandalorian's a cool series. I mean, the stuff that Dave Filoni's involved in, because he's the single person who's added the most to Star Wars canon aside from George Lucas. I mean, you know, obviously there's been the sequel trilogy, but that has been kind of like a real letdown. It's kind of been like you're expecting a big fireworks show and somebody set off one of those little poppers you get at the 99-cent store, and that was it. So, kind of a letdown, kind of a disappointment for me, in my opinion. But I will watch this show. I'm already kind of skeptical of it in the sense that, when we saw the original Star Wars back in the day, you know, Anakin or Darth Vader is so surprised when he senses the presence of, you know, of Obi-Wan Kenobi in the Death Star. And I think now, granted, it wasn't explicitly said, but the implication there is he has not seen his master since he was last defeated by his master. And I have a feeling in this show they're going to have, a couple showdowns, and it's going to be like, oh, well, they ran into each other again at different places. And I don't know, sometimes it's like, even the Clone Wars, you kind of feel like, man, they really kind of try to squeeze a lot of stuff in here that supposedly happened, but we just didn't see it. It's kind of a little much. It's like, really all that happened? Like, really? Like just off screen, just right before that just happened? But that's kind of the angle they take. And it's cool. It makes it fun. I mean, certainly with the Clone Wars, it helps the prequels big time. It actually made them kind of mean something, other than just watching the prequel movies by themselves. It was just kind of like a checklist, for things that needed to line up for the original trilogy, in my opinion. So anyway, so that trailer's out. That is coming, I believe, late May on the anniversary of Star Wars being released, or something like that. Not May 4th, not May the 4th be with you day, but not Star Wars Day, but the anniversary of the original Star Wars. Which 25 years? Yeah, 25 years. 25, 35. How many years? 77? Yeah, probably like 35 years. Dang. So anyhow, that trailer came out. Obi-Wan Kenobi coming out. Should be a cool show. Also, I've already covered here Zdarsky coming to Batman soon. That's pretty cool. And then I saw something too with Rodney Barnes is going to be writing something. I forget. What is Rodney Barnes going to be writing? For those of you that don't know, he is the writer on Philadelphia, which has been a really unique, really dark, gritty vampire tale that's really, it's about a lot more than just that. And it's a really cool series, a really distinct voice and visuals. Philadelphia is like something that grew on me because the art is kind of really scratchy, really messy, which tends to not be my style that I personally go for. But it really grew on me, and it really kind of fits the horror and the danger that kind of comes hand in hand with with Philadelphia and with the story that Rodney's telling. Let's see here. I just typed in something in here. Man, things are working slow today. Come on, man. I mean, Barnes also wrote Falcon and the Winter. Wait, Falcon? But the screenwriter for the new movie would be Malcolm Spellman. Oh, is that new movie with Falcon being Captain America 4, I guess. Yeah. Yeah, he wrote Falcon. He actually wrote a James Bond series about kind of getting into a human trafficking organization, or not getting into, but kind of trying to dismantle or go against. I didn't end up picking it up because James Bond, is kind of cool, but just kind of not exciting enough for me. I got a big enough pull as it is. But there was another comic. Oh, that's what it is. That's speaking of Star Wars. Yeah, perfect. So Rodney Barnes is going to be writing the Mandalorian comic series. So for Marvel. So the first kind of comic adaptation of the Mandalorian, of his world, is going to be handled by Rodney Barnes. So great for him. Should be cool. I mean, very different than Philadelphia, but as we just noted, he's done some superhero stuff. So, so let's see what he does with it. Could be cool. So speaking of Rodney Barnes in Philadelphia, I wanted to talk about a few things I've been reading lately that definitely are food for thought in my world of discussion when I do talking about eternal truths behind our modern mythology and Christian symbolism and biblical ideas and things like that. Philadelphia is a series that literally has had a character meet Jesus, I believe, is what they were trying to go for. So in this like spiritual journey where, and I always forget the characters' names, it's because, I read it monthly. I haven't like sat down with a trade, so maybe that's why, but, the Mando series. Yeah, that's, I wonder their involvement, the creators of the Mandalorian, if there's how much say they have in that, if it's going to coincide, maybe fill in things even for the show, for the between seasons. I don't know. That might be kind of cool. Maybe give us a little more of Grogu's kind of training in the Mandalorian way. Who knows? I did think it was kind of weird that they brought Grogu back to Mando like pretty quick. Like it almost felt like, oh, okay, well, that big moment at the end of season 2, and we're right back to where we were. So, but that's okay. I mean, the people come to see the Mandalorian, see Din Djarin and Grogu. I mean, that's pretty much what the people are there for. But with Philadelphia, yeah, it's excuse me, it's a cool series that really is about more than what you might think up front. Like, I mean, it's a father and son tale, which especially in the beginning, early on, and as it develops, is really a really cool. I mean, father-son stories really get me. I have 2 boys, and I didn't have the greatest relationship with my father, but it's they mean something. They're profound because I think when it's a father-son story, it really is a lot about how a man defines himself, how he views himself. And it's an interesting power dynamic, obviously, because it's like this person holds a lot of weight, and either there's like, that's something good, or there's a lot of resentment in that situation. So Philadelphia has that. Philadelphia has vampires, obviously, has a detective noir feel, because the father and son are both detectives. It has these kind of political overtones, and so it has historical figures and a lot of issues of power. So Philadelphia, it's like about vampires in Philadelphia. Da da da. If you didn't, now you get it, right? So, but it's also got these power dynamics of political power, of issues of slavery, even historically, historical issues, politics, and also not just politics, but these vampires, considering even so all three historical vampires with political power, and the idea of people's desire for power or their view of themselves and their ability to make decisions for the world at large, create the world in their image. Um, Now with the ability of eternal life, of being a vampire, of never dying, being the, one of the undead, like a vampire or zombie. Vampire is much better because you still have your faculties. But so it's very interesting, very dynamic. And then there's also a lot of uh, talk and play discussion into the area of religion, and even more religions than just Christianity. There's African religions that are brought into there. There's, I mean, it's actually, it's a wealth of ideas and things to really examine and talk about. So if you haven't read it, I recommend it. It, unless you're not into horror, it's definitely, it can be gruesome, very gruesome at times, very graphic, and but it says a lot about humanity. It's a surprisingly, the more you go, it's like, wow, this is really about more than it looks like on the surface. It's not just a horror story. It's about kind of, like I say, it's a lot about power dynamics, and power over people. And so, uh, like I said, in the series, a character does meet Jesus. He goes on this journey. He goes to hell. He meets the devil. He kind of has an interesting conversation where um, he's sort of kind of like logically and intellectually sort of does a circle around the devil and sets up a situation where he kind of wins. Um, so so that's interesting. Oh, sorry, just a second. So, and then he also meets Jesus, and then he goes on to meet this spider god, this like African spider god. And so 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 it is interesting. I remember the way that they kind of painted Jesus in this story was um a little limited. I kind of felt like it lacked a little something, not quite as dynamic, but it was like one issue or one scene from one issue. So and it was part of a bigger journey. And then gosh, I wish I could remember this character's name, but he had a mom who was pretty religious, who he looked after, who passed on, who even gave the chance to become a vampire. She wasn't about it. So a lot of interesting things there. But yeah, I mean, I encourage you to rethink Philadelphia in those terms of power dynamics, because it's approaching the idea of vampire in person, of political leader and normal people. And it's funny because you don't see the normal people so much. Maybe the closest to a normal person is the doctor, the girlfriend of the main character, of the son. Um, I'm sorry, I'm terrible with names, but she's kind of brought along for this ride, and sort of in this kind of crazy mix up of things happening. But but yeah, it's, you don't really see it from the normal person's kind of perspective. You see it from gods, from vampires, from leaders, and gang leaders, and it's sort of like all these decisions and ideas, and basically fighting over how to rule and have power over people, to either use them as a commodity, as humans to eat for blood, or leading vampires. And and so it explores religious power, religious philosophy, actual like magical power, all these things. So it's really it's really interesting, and I feel like it is, well, it does touch on Christian ideas. It's ultimately a humanism kind of perspective. It's a very grounded, like, human nature. I think it's really kind of digging into human nature and how it plays out in the context of power dynamics. So really cool series. Really got to have my hat off to Rodney Barnes and the work he's doing on that series. Very deep, very cool. I think an issue came out this week or is coming out soon. Not too sure. But then another thing I got to read was an Aftershock comic, which it was kind of hard to track this one down, but Land of the Living Gods. Land of the Living Gods from Isaac Magajane and art by Santos. Aftershock puts out some really quality comics. Whenever I pick up one, I mean, it tends to be a really good thing. I mean, even the quality of this book is just on another level. So, sometimes I'm paying $4 for skinny, cheap little. I did feel like the actual comic content was a little small inside the book, but they give some additional kind of notes and things that kind of go along with the story that are kind of fun to check out. So kind of like a notebook, like a sketch sort of thing. But yeah, I forget what you would call this cover. Very glossy kind of cover. Land of the Living Gods. It was tough to track down because it's an indie book, and then I guess they're going for higher on eBay already. So, but I found a place that still had one at cover price in my area around Fort Worth. And so, Land of the Living Gods is another thing that's not really Christian ideas. It's more of kind of I don't know if they name the African area that it's from really. Oh, well, it takes place in Johannesburg, but an idea of the future, almost like a dystopian future story, but this time with an emphasis on spirituality. And by that, I mean, it's got, it digs into this girl and her mother's belief in pantheistic pantheon of gods, but sort of a lot of ancestors, being in touch with their ancestors, them being like spirits that can protect them, things like that. And that is kind of interesting. So instead of, that being introduced into the dystopian idea is interesting because it's like our character has to journey through this dystopian future in Johannesburg, in Africa, where she's foraging for supplies. It's like the world's been kind of destroyed, and so you get that whole feel. But like her ancestors, the spirits, are kind of protecting her, helping her out. Like, so it's interesting because you get kind of a Book of Eli kind of feel to it, look to it, situation. There's kind of these gangs and things that are out roaming, trying to find people that they can capture and sell, to people who are looking for them. So very much if you've seen Book of Eli with Denzel Washington, kind of that kind of feel to it, a Mad Max kind of craziness, but rooted in this very like old worldy kind of spiritualism, praying to the gods, believing for help from the ancestors, things like that. So it made it kind of interesting. And then I don't know if I'm slow or what, but I was looking at this thing the whole time, and I knew the character looked kind of white, and she's African, but turns out she's albino. And maybe I shouldn't have said that. Maybe that's a spoiler. It's not really. I guess if you look at it and you're a little sharper than me, you might pick up on that sooner. But so yeah, she's an albino character who is, because at the end, some of these gangs find her valuable when they're trying to capture people who are wandering around unprotected. And so that kind of plays into the story. One thing I would say with this book, Land of the Living Gods, issue 1, and I think issue 2 comes out in a couple weeks, maybe next week or the week after, is that I felt like they could have gave more for a first issue. There is a setup. There is a place that it's going to go from what happened in this first issue. I just felt like they could have gave me a little more. It's kind of not a ton happens, but they're kind of setting up this world, and you're seeing these quiet little moments that get you to know the character a little bit and kind of get what's important. Um, maybe I could look at that a little different, but that's my take. That's my take. So, anyhow, that is Land of the Living Gods. And the last thing I wanted to touch on for the morning show was just a little bit is Daredevil. I've actually been catching up on Daredevil, going through the Zdarsky run that I've been collecting because it started and was really good, and then I just got behind, and so now I'm catching up, and I'm in Devil's Reign, which is going on right now, which is kind of capping off this volume of Daredevil. And then, if I understand right, Chip Zdarsky and I think even Chichetto are going to come back for a new volume of Daredevil, which is kind of weird. It's like, why are they starting it over? But anyway, but it was interesting going through Daredevil, who's obviously been known to be a Catholic, a devout Catholic superhero character in comics for a long time. That's a big part of who he is. It's a big part of his story and his perspective, his motivation. And, really rereading it, I thought, Daredevil is so driven by guilt. He's kind of like this anti-hero who kind of needs to punish himself. And he has it hard. Like he's kind of Daredevil doesn't get it easy. And I think they kind of got that in the Netflix series. But he has that, traditional Catholic guilt. And it really kind of I don't know, it makes me sad for him. It's like it keeps going. It's like you think, is he gonna go any lower? But then he does. It's like, oh man, and he keeps, no, he's going to serve out his sentence in prison. Jail. He accidentally killed somebody, manslaughter, so he goes to jail. I did feel like it was resolved kind of quick, which kind of make it feel like he was getting away with something. Because the way that happened in the story was it was just he just wasn't on his A game, and he did something and hurt somebody too bad, and they died. So he should feel guilty about that. But yeah, Daredevil just kind of seems to he has that Catholic guilt, and he just kind of keeps being the sacrificial lamb in every situation. Chip Zdarsky is money, but Marvel needed a reason to start over at number one. Yeah, I mean, I don't think they ever need a reason. They just do it. They just constantly do it to try to get more sales. But man, I want a long run of comics, like a long story with one writer. Maybe the artist can change, but it's cool if there's the same creative team. I mean, Chichetto hasn't been consistent on this run of Daredevil. There's different people that come in, but I love that long run with one writer telling a story that just keeps building and building. And, I think Zdarsky's definitely leaving his mark on Daredevil and going to be, one of the runs that's really remembered for a long time, probably. And it's probably really led to him being given the reins to Batman. So that's cool. But yeah, Daredevil, there is one thing that I think of with Daredevil. Often it seems like he's driven by this Catholic guilt, but there also is a really sense of Daredevil wants to be a servant. And it was Jesus who said, the greatest among you has to be the servant of all. So in the perspective of heaven, from a Christian perspective, being a servant, being lowly and serving others is actually something that is worthy of exaltation. So meaning you lower yourself and you can be raised up. You're worthy of being raised up. So that is something. It's it kind of rides the line in Daredevil of being like a virtuous thing. Like, yeah, that's good. You're being humble. You want to do good for people, and versus you're just being hard on yourself and being a punching bag because you don't have a good view of yourself or self-esteem. It kind of rides that line. In fact, there was one issue in particular where it was one of the King in Black tie-ins where the Null is there and all the symbiotes come into the prison, and Daredevil actually gets a symbiote bonded with him or trying to bond with him, and he's like speaking to Null in his head, who's trying to take control, and he doesn't want to give control, and they're like arguing about his belief in God and his different views, and Null's kind of saying, I can be a different God for you. And I thought it was the most like the greatest view into Daredevil's soul that we've been given, where he says something to the effect of like, I believe in heaven. I just don't know that I'll make it there, or something like that. And I thought, wow, like, or that I'm worthy of it, or something like that. And I was like, wow, that kind of, felt like the most honest we've ever seen Matt Murdock, or the most, the deepest peer into his soul. So we'll see. I'm only at the beginning of Devil's Reign. As I said, I've been catching up. So with that, and then with Daredevil Woman Without Fear. So I'll be catching up here shortly, and then seeing where this story goes. But yeah, thanks for everybody who tuned in on this Faith-Filled Friday, talking about some of the religious and biblical symbolism within some of these comics I've been reading lately. Some interesting stuff, definitely. Land of the Living Gods, cool story. We'll see where it goes. I believe it's going to go somewhere good. It's just kind of a slow start, but really cool kind of artwork. The only thing is it felt a little jumpy, like the script might have been a little bit kind of pacing a little weird, but it kind of feels like a movie too, in that way, a movie that jumps around. So it may, I think now that the plot's getting rolling, it could normalize or balance out. Land of the Living Gods, Philadelphia, Daredevil, all good stuff. Hope you're enjoying it. But let me know what you thought. Feel free to add a comment if you're watching this on replay or anything. I hope you guys have an awesome weekend. I'm going to have a crazy big weekend, doing some work, doing some family stuff. Yo, Bible and a Bicycle. Thanks for dropping in. I made it live. Great show, by the way. I think we can all relate to the inner conflict. Yep. True that. So, and in the future, you heard it here. If you were here earlier, I definitely got to get Chillmonger and Aggressively Relaxing on the show with me to point counterpoint on something. And have an awesome weekend, guys. I will try to be in on Monday. Sunday, we are getting a family dog for the first time, so we'll see how that goes. It's going to be an adjustment. Trying to come up with a good comic book name for the dog, Girl Doggy. So we'll see. We'll see what happens there. But God bless. Enjoy your comics. Enjoy your weekend, and I'll catch you next time.